Imagine having everything you need, maybe even more than enough, but still lying awake at night terrified of losing it all. This fear of poverty is becoming more common than ever, even in wealthy societies. But how should we understand it, and what guidance does Islam give us? Welcome to Al-Fitra Lifestyle, a channel dedicated to holistic Islamic wellness. Please consider subscribing to our channel to make sure you don't miss our future uploads. Your support also helps us grow and reach more people. Today we're looking at Peniaphobia, the fear of poverty. We'll explore what modern psychology says about it, and then compare that with the timeless perspective offered in the Qur'an and the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Peniaphobia is not just a worry about paying bills or budgeting. It's an intense, irrational fear of becoming poor, even when someone is financially secure. According to health researchers, this phobia is spreading fast, especially among younger people. Rising living costs, unstable job markets, and social media comparisons all play a role. One article explains that some young adults avoid basic life choices like starting families or leaving toxic job environments because of this overwhelming fear of falling into poverty. It's not simply financial caution, it's a level of fear that shapes lifestyle decisions and erodes mental health. Interestingly, psychologists have also studied how this fear might push people into harmful behaviors. In fact, research suggests that peniaphobia can sometimes drive individuals toward unethical actions or even crime, all in an attempt to escape the possibility of poverty. Centuries before the term peniaphobia was even conceived, Islam had already warned us about it. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever is focused only on this world, God will confound his affairs and make him fear poverty constantly, and he will not get anything of this world except that which has been decreed for him. Whoever is focused on the hereafter, God will settle his affairs for him and make him feel content with his lot, and his provision and worldly gains will undoubtedly come to him." One might think that achieving financial security should alleviate the anxiety around poverty. However, a curious finding published in the Sydney Morning Herald described how even people with high incomes can suffer from peniaphobia. Riches don't necessarily protect against the fear of losing them. In fact, sometimes the wealthier a person becomes, the more anxious they feel about protecting it. This creates a cycle where no amount of money can bring true peace of mind. The following authentic hadith beautifully illustrates the human tendency to fall into a spiral of greed. If Adam's son had a valley full of gold, he would like to have 2 valleys, for nothing fills his mouth except dust. And God forgives him who repents to him. Verse 131 in chapter 20 of the Quran reminds us, "Do not let your eyes crave what we have allowed some of the disbelievers to enjoy, the fleeting splendor of this worldly life, which we test them with. But your Lord's provision in the hereafter is far better and more lasting." In a more actionable way, Islam addresses this fear by encouraging us to let go instead of hoarding. Zakat, the mandatory charity and one of the pillars of Islam, as well as voluntary charity, both teach us to part with wealth and remember that it's ultimately a trust, not ownership. By giving regularly, we break the chain of attachment and remind ourselves that what we have is not diminished by sharing, it is blessed. Moderation is one of the fundamental principles of our faith. This means that while we should not get too attached to material wealth, it doesn't mean we stop working hard or ignore financial planning. Islam encourages earning through honest effort, providing for our families, and serving our community. But there's a difference between striving responsibly and being driven by a paralyzing fear. Constant exhaustion, burnout, or unethical shortcuts are signs that fear is running the show. At the same time, the Quran reminds us not to be excessive or miserly. In chapter 25, verse 67, the servants of the Most Merciful are described as those who spend neither wastefully nor stingily, but moderately in between. True trust in God means putting in effort while recognizing that outcomes are not fully in our control. This balance allows us to work, save, and build responsibly without falling into despair or obsession. Peniaphobia shows us that fear of poverty isn't just about money, it's about mindset. Modern psychology is only now naming what Islamic wisdom has warned us about for centuries. No amount of wealth can erase fear if our hearts are disconnected from gratitude and trust. The path to peace isn't found in hoarding, but in giving, remembering, and relying on the Creator. If you found this video beneficial, please support this channel by liking this video, sharing it with someone who might find it helpful, and subscribing to make sure you don't miss future uploads. Thank you for watching, and see you again soon.